Welcome to the YouPotential podcast. I am thrilled for you to hear my conversation with the world-renowned body language expert, a global authority on communication, Mark Bowden. Mark is the go-to voice when it comes to understanding body language, changing our behaviors, and showing top performers how to show up with clarity, confidence, and presence. And today, he's here with us. We dig into why change is so damn hard, how failure can be fuel for success, why lying, yes, lying can sometimes be a powerful communication tool, and how mastering our own body language can help us win trust, build credibility, and succeed on whatever path we're on. This is going to be a fantastic episode. Let's go. Mark, welcome to the show.
Good to be here, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in this snowy day in Toronto.
It is a snowy day. I made it through. We're here.
This is an average day in Edmonton where I'm from, but I'm glad this worked out for us.
Yeah. Well, we get it every now and again here. This is a snow day. The kids are not at school today. Day off for the kids at Toronto. Yeah.
Well, Mark, you're a body language expert. I've heard you've been considered the guru, the number one guru in the world of body language. 4-time best-selling book. You have a successful YouTube channel with Dr. Phil and 3 of your wonderful colleagues. Mm-hmm. You've done a lot in this world of body language. So I'm really interested in your story, your career. But first and foremost, I heard on your TEDx video that you can read someone's body language and your brain will perceive if you like them within seconds. So, do you like me?
Yeah. Well, look, I have to, because we're going to be sitting here for a while. So even if I didn't, but I do, but even if I didn't, I would have to put on a really good show that I did. Because otherwise, look, if we're not getting on well, the audience here will kind of pick up on that. They'll go, I'm a little bit uncomfortable in this situation, and they'll tune out. And I don't want you to tune out. I want you to tune in. So even if I didn't like you, I would be pretending at such a good level that you'd be okay with it. Let's just say that.
Well, I appreciate that. I guess that goes in line with your message for your TEDx talk, which was embrace your inauthentic voice.
Yeah. Look, lying is one of our most important social skills. Okay, if we weren't able to lie really well, we wouldn't have got this far in our lives. Okay, so look, you know that you're able to convince somebody often of something that isn't quite true and isn't quite accurate. And you do it for all kinds of really good reasons, I would say. You're not there going, oh my, doing a really bad thing here. There's lies that you tell where you do go, I really shouldn't be doing this. But there's lies that you tell where you go, this is actually really important that I do this and I do this well. So look, lying, one of our most important social skills. You're good at it. I'm good at it. That's probably why partly we've had some of the success that we've had. Now, also, telling the truth is a really important social skill. You're good at it. I'm good at it. And that's why we've had the success that we've had. Also, we've got to know when to do one and when to do the other. Because if we lie in the place where we should be telling the truth, or we tell the truth in the place where we should be lying, then we don't get on well with everybody around us.
My resistance is like inauthentic. This whole world is about finding an authentic voice now.
Yeah.
And as a father of 2 young kids, I'm like, Lewis, my son, we cannot lie. But yet we can then make a decision when we're lying for the good reasons versus poor reasons.
Yeah. So you got a son, Lewis. Yeah. You got kids though. You got another.
Yeah, 2. Madeline.
Yeah, Madeline. So let's just say that somebody comes to the door of your home and your son knows that they mean harm to Madeline. Yeah. Would you like him to be a really good liar and be able to say, hey, Madeline's not here. Madeline's out with mum and dad. Would you like him to be a good liar in that situation? Or would you like him to tell the truth and go, Madeline is here and mum and dad aren't here right now? Which would be your preference?
Good liar.
Yeah, because he and Madeline are not going to survive without their ability to be able to tell a really good lie at the right moment. So this idea of authenticity and telling the truth all the time, that's a fantasy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful fantasy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be an incredible world if all of us could just, there's films, fantasy films been made about this idea. I think there's one with Jim Carrey called Liar Liar, which is a beautiful fantasy film of what if suddenly you woke up one day and you only told the truth? What would happen? It's like, so we know it's a fantasy. The reality of the world is we need lies and we need truth and we need to be good at both and we need to know when to do one and when to do the other. And when we know those things and we can do those things well, we can fit in very well with the societies we need to fit in with. Because look, you might come from, we don't particularly come from a different society, but you're out there in Edmonton, I'm here in Toronto. We come from, somewhat different backgrounds. What is a lie in Edmonton may not be a lie here in Toronto.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are not a good hockey team.
yeah, exactly. Exactly that. Yeah. So yes, what is a lie may be hope for us that Toronto will win at hockey soon. What is a complete fantasy and a lie and utter imagination for you might be hope for us. And if I just walk around Toronto going, no, we're doomed. It will never happen. And here's exactly why. We don't care about that sport enough. We don't put enough money. If I start telling those truths to diehard fans, I don't get to join in because their fantasy, their lie is one of hope.
Yeah. So this is super interesting. And I know you've done a lot of research and work on just the human mind and our human behaviors. Focus on evolutionary psychology here. How does one make that distinction between this is a good lie, like you explained for Lewis, versus deceiving myself, being like, this is a good lie, but underneath I'm like, haha, no, this is not a lie.
Okay, really good question. We are social mammals, okay? We are not reptiles. Yeah, we gather together via the mechanisms of our social mammalian brain, which has heuristics in ways of making decisions in it that help us be able to cooperate with each other, do deals with each other, and keep that cooperation and those deals under quite difficult circumstances as well. And if we can't do that, we fail. We fail to build all these incredible structures around us, be they the buildings, be they financial structures, be they business structures, be they social structures. We're designed to get together into groups and cooperate with each other. And part of that cooperation is to cooperate on what is the truth and what is a lie. And to make an agreement with each other. This is what we're going to call the truth, and this is what we're going to call a lie. And you may go other places on the planet, or you may go down the road, and they're going to tell you that that truth is a lie, but that's wrong. That truth is a truth. Now, as we as human beings start to move from cooperative culture to cooperative culture, we come into conflicts because I go over and do some work over in the US, and the truth for them feels like a lie to me. So now what do? Do I lie along with them? Well, I want to cooperate with them. At what point do I have to stand up and go, this is madness. This is madness. What you're saying is the truth here is a lie. And do I expect them to go, oh, my Lord, Mark, you're right. We've just noticed. Now you've told us, we've just noticed. Because that could be an existential threat to them. And it's a group of them. It's not, here's one of the interesting things. When you're having a conversation with an individual and they're saying to you something that you think, that's just nonsense. You're just lying to me, yeah? They're not an individual. They're a part of a group. They just showed up on their own and you think it's an individual. There are no individuals, just members of groups. And sometimes they show up alone and you forget it's not them that think that. It's them and their whole group
Right.
that think that. You're not in an argument with an individual. You're in an argument with a whole group. So we need to be mindful that we are going to get into disagreements about what is a truth and what is a lie. And we're going to think we're having an argument and a disagreement with an individual, but we're not. We're having it with a massive group.
It makes me think of like our basic psychological needs of belonging.
Right.
Like humans strive to feel that sense of belonging. So this idea of groupthink, it's really powerful. And part of these conversations I've been having over the last 4 years on the podcast is I'm so interested in people who might see, say, the lie of socially constructed, this is how you should live your life.
Yeah.
You should go to this school, this job, get this career, get a pension. While that's the truth for some people,
Right.
I'm interested in people like yourself who I do not recall seeing at any career fair a body language expert at a trade booth.
Right.
So on this idea of like maybe these broader society, maybe lies going far, but I think sometimes we get promised, take this career, your life is going to be great. We go through life and we realize, that wasn't really the path that I wanted to take. So for yourself, let's go back to the start when Mark maybe decided to peek beyond the socially constructed view of here's what his career is, an accountant,
Yeah.
a lawyer, etc.
Yeah.
And I want to key it up with how, if anything at all, did mask theater play a role in that?
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So here's where I'll start with this is, if you look at some of my resumes, it'll say body language expert, expert in human behavior and body language. Okay. That's a title. But what I do is to help people all over the world to stand out, win trust, and gain credibility every time they communicate. Because the reality is nobody needs a body language expert or human behavior expert. They want a result. They're at one place in their life which is not perfect for them.
Right.
And they have a vision of somewhere better they could be. And they need somebody to take them from where they are now to where they want to be. And that's what I'm interested in. And yes, that journey was at no career fair. They never went, you want to be somebody who can take people from where they are to where they want to be. Yeah, it was just full of jobs. In fact, when I first ever career fair that I went to, at school, and you had to show up in front of the careers advisor. And at my school, basically, you sat in front of the careers advisor and they said, well, Army or Navy? Not Air Force. We would never be allowed to be in the Air Force, but they were like, what kind of cannon fodder would you like to be? Which type of guns do you want to run at? Like the ones on the ground or the ones at sea? But we're not letting you in the air. That's way too expensive for somebody like you. So here's what was happening for me. I'm dyslexic, so I don't work with numbers and letters the same way that the majority of people on the planet do. I'm very literate, but I can't order them in the way that other human beings would best like them ordered. And in fact, my brain, because of this, orders the world in a very different way than other people's. And one of the ways it orders things is, in my mind, everything happens in visual ideas. If you talk to me about something, my brain is making pictures of the thing that you're talking about. Yeah, so every now and again, you'll see my eyes go up here as I'm listening to your question, because I'm visually imagining what you're talking about. And then I'm taking those pictures and I'm manipulating those pictures to turn them into other stuff. And then I'll tell you what I've created in that. Not everybody's some people who are listening to this now will be going, God, that's me. That's me. And some people will be going, what on earth are you talking about? Okay. And because of that, I'm quite what people would call creative, in that I can make stuff in my head that wasn't there, that hasn't existed before. And then I'll go, hey, here's what I'm seeing. And I'll tell you about something that you have never thought of or heard before. And people listening right now going, I do that. I was always amazed when somebody once said to me, yeah, I mean, you make stuff that wasn't there and not everybody does that. And I was like, what? So they don't imagine stuff that they haven't seen before or isn't existent in the room. It's like, no. If you ask them for that, they're just like, tell me what to do. Give me an example of something that's already there. So my brain was into visual imagery and manipulating visual imagery, and I got into this whole thing of art, fine art and visual images, and I was very good at manipulating those. And what I found was it meant I could avoid the usual classes that everybody else was in, which I would fail at miserably. I was in the lowest possible class for math and English, super literate, but yet couldn't write anything and couldn't order numbers in any way that would allow me to pass any exam. And what the schools would say is like, why don't you go and, paint the wall of the school? Or why don't you go and
I don't know how to handle you. Get out here.
Go and do that. And it meant I could be on my own and succeed. And people would go, wow, look what you've done there. That's really good. And so eventually what I started to do was get really good at making pictures with moving human beings, telling stories with moving pictures, which some people would call theatre, film, and TV. Mm-hmm. But it's just like it's making stuff that wasn't there, that's now there, with like real moving human beings, and we record it or we show it to the audience live. I got really good at that. And so I went off to study specifically in that area, both in London and the UK, and in fact all over the world, with practitioners who were supreme at this idea of how you tell stories with moving pictures. And one of the areas that I got really niched in was mask theatre, which is simply this. You take something and you place it on your face, because this, in most theatre and film, is the primary way of telling a story. Mm-hmm. But what you do is you fix this. So this tells just one story. And then you start to project that story with your body in the environment, and you counter that story as well. And when you counter that story, the human brain is an extraordinary thing. It starts moving that set object. It starts causing that immutable thing on the face to start to smile and laugh and cry, and people go, it's moving. You're moving it. And you have to say, no, you're moving it.
Wow.
It's happening in your head. Your brain is incredible. I can cause you to make something that doesn't move, because everything must fit for you. Yeah? And there's the other great thing about being in movement theatre is there is one immutable law of the universe, which is everything moves. Everything moves. There isn't anything in this universe right now that is not in motion, because as far as we understand it, we cannot get it to absolute zero. At absolute zero, everything would stop. And to my understanding, that is not achieved. And you might go, well, hang on, maybe what happens at the center of a black hole? Has it got so super dense that is, yes, but I mean, that's being moved by the whole universe. Even if I try and stand still at the moment, this planet that I'm on right now is moving at an immense speed. And that, as part of our solar system, is moving in an incredible spiral. And that, as part of the universe, is moving at an incredible faster rate. So everything moves. So it's great to be in the business of movement, because it's the most fundamental thing in the universe.
On that note, like, you talk about this journey to explain that story, but you're helping people go on a journey.
Yeah.
Of getting one place to the other, which I think is fantastic. And when I hear your story, I have admiration for these teachers who just didn't snuff out that creativity. I feel like sometimes if we step outside of this story that we should abide by, whether it's teachers or other individuals of power at that time, be like, oh, don't go paint that wall. Actually sit down. Something's wrong with you. You have ADHD. Like, you can't follow in line, and there's something wrong with you, as opposed to this person like gave you permission to be like, tap into that, go.
Yeah. There's some good teachers and there's some not so good teachers. let's just say that. A lot of my family are teachers. My dad was a teacher. My mum taught art as well. And my dad started off as a chemistry teacher, maths teacher, and then became a drama teacher when it got put on the national curriculum. By then, I was already studying theatre elsewhere. And so he's a great teacher. They're all my family are fantastic teachers. They're not they're not every teacher out there. So I can't say many teachers, potentially through no fault of their own, nobody knew about dyslexia that much. They weren't that helpful. I was stupid and lazy to
them.
Yeah. They just, well, you're not trying hard enough. For me, the effort was immense. For me, still now, to read and to write, you won't see the paddling that's going on underneath the water to allow me to look like. One of the funny things is when I read books, I'd read the same books as other people were reading. Because we do. There's this bestseller book. We've got to go and read this thing. People go, "What do you think of it?" I'm like, "Well, this, and this." And they're like, "Oh, I never thought of it that way." I think what happens is, I think I've read the book, but I think what actually happens is I make up my best idea of what I think that book should be, because it's so hard to concentrate and read and get it. It's so hard that what my head does is to come up with a lot of it.
Right.
And so when people talk to me about books, they're like, "Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I missed that bit. I gotta reread that." And I'd be thinking, why do I read all these books and everybody else doesn't read what I read?
But it makes sense because we all interpret based on our own lived experience, our own lens of the world.
Yeah. I think I think sometimes I build a lens there and then.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and maybe I'm pushing it a little bit too far. But anyway, look, some teachers were great, and there were some teachers, especially arts teachers, who would just go, "Look, you just go off and do whatever you need, you can do, and we'll give you a lot of space to do that." So, for example, I did very well in school at art. My art teacher, all he did was just go, "There's your space." I was the only person doing art at my school. There was just me. "There's your space. I'll come and visit you every few weeks. Check if you need any help. But otherwise, I'm just going to set you a task. You get on with it." Yeah, well, what a brilliant way to learn. For me, brilliant way to learn.
Who would have thought you turned out to be an entrepreneur now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that entrepreneurial thing, that's making something that isn't there yet. In my category, body language and behavior expert, when I started into that, there were so few people there. There wasn't really many people to look at, and they didn't have my background. There was nobody with my background. They would be coming from a pure kind of behavioral science background, or usually an intelligence service or law background.
Right.
Of some sort.
Interrogation.
Yeah, absolutely. And brilliant backgrounds to come from. Yeah, hard social or psych or hard law enforcement or intelligence. I was coming from a very pure arts background, which said, I know why people move, how they move, and how to manipulate ideas in other people's minds by moving people in a certain way. If we move them like this, the audience will think and feel this on command. We can get a result from them by doing this over here. That was unique. There was nobody else that I could find doing that. In my world, it wasn't really unique at all. There were a few of us, but nobody had shifted that across to politics and to business and political and business communication, which is where I the work that I've been doing met the business and political world.
So speak to that, because you've worked with some world leaders,
yes,
business leaders,
yes,
in the political realm.
Yeah.
Looking back, when was it when you're like, whoa, there's this crossover you spoke of there's this crossover, there's something here. And I ask from the lens that there's a lot of people who have these creative ideas, and bringing them to fruition is hard. It requires us seeing through it. It requires us to be like, I'm trying this, but it's not working. I don't know if you had that experience in your lens, but maybe just speak to that crossover point of how did you see it through to now being working with some of the world's most successful people?
Yeah, so I was training performers all over the world in how to tell stories with pictures and change people's minds and change their feelings on command really fast. That's what I'd explain it as. And I was training some actors, and one of those actors knew somebody. Their wife was working with a super major PR firm in London, with some incredible clients. This person told their wife, here's what I did today. It was astonishing. Like, this person, they get you to do movement and it changes the audience instantly on command. They can't stop it. They can't stop being moved by the movement that's happening. And so this PR company called me up and go, can you do that with people in business? And I went, have they got bodies? Are they alive? And do they have bodies? Yes, they do. Yes, I can. Now, part of that, I'd never done that with people in business, but my assumption was, do they have a body and can they move? If they have a body and they can move, it can be done, because that's all I'm working with. And so I just went, yeah, I'll come and do it. So I didn't say no. I didn't go, maybe. I just went, yeah, I can do that. And then I walk into the situation and then I go, well, what have I done? I don't know what the business of these people are. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know, how good they are at the moment. Well, I found out how good they were. The bar is so low in business and politics. The communication bar is so low to somebody who has spent every inch of their life and sacrificed everything to be good at this. It's so low, you just flick a tiny thing, and like the world changes for them. They can't believe. It's like, what, I just do that? Yeah, you just do that and they'll get it. It'll change. Sunshine will rain over their lives.
You're a magician.
It's magic. It's magic for them, but for me, it's mechanics.
Right.
That's all it is. I know the wiring under the board. I know how the engine is built. I know. I can look at it and go, I see you got no fuel. Oh, you got water in your in your line there. That's why.
Yeah.
Where are your spark plugs? You just need to clean them. There you go. Bang. Done. Now the engine's going at full speed. And here's the thing. Even if somebody has some technique and are pretty good, and they know something, they still haven't loaded both barrels. It's like they haven't loaded both barrels, and they've not even closed it up. Yeah, it's like, why haven't you loaded both barrels on this? Well, we thought, I don't know, have we got two? Yeah, you got two barrels. Got two barrels. Let me show you the other barrel. Oh, didn't even know that existed. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
That's the way you tell your story. It's really interesting because, like, a lot of us, we want to get to that point where that PR firm of whatever industry we're in calls you up.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing here is that your words, I sacrificed a lot. I spent my whole life becoming an expert in body language and human behavior. And I just hear a story of someone who is really focused on stepping outside of what I opened up, that lie of you got to do life like this, and just narrow focus. And then things happened. It's not like, I don't think this road was completely linear for you that the PR firm just called you up. I'm sure there were days you're like, will they call?
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't even looking for them to call. I mean, that's the thing. All I was trying to do was be the best I could possibly be at this thing. And the reason is, and it's not out of any what it's out of is I was a failure, horrible failure at all the stuff that everybody else was doing. If you have this dyslexic brain, you will fail miserably back then at all the stuff that everybody's going, here's how you get a job. Here's how you be a success. Like, I can't, basic four-letter words, all the four-letter words that most people will go, here's how you spell it. I can't do it, or I couldn't do it back back then. So for me, our world is very much run on just simple linguistics and mathematics.
Yeah.
And if you are a failure at that, and you're shown to be that day after day after day, your world narrows down very, very quickly. And so the other dyslexics that I was with, there was a couple of them. We were the lowest. They got some bad situations at home. I had a great situation at home, but from what I could, in hindsight, what I could see from them, some bad situations at home. And so both of them were pretty violent. Cool for me because they were my friends. So I was always well protected.
Yeah.
because I hung out with people who were having a terrible, terrible time, and the world around them was saying, "You're going to fail in this as well." Yeah, I was fortunate in that I did have something that I could see I could succeed at, and I was given the opportunity. Okay, have space to succeed at that, and then I just kept on going with that. But it wasn't. It was more that move away from failure than a move towards success.
Right. So looking back at young Mark, how did you cultivate such a strong behavior to move away from that failure, where it's very easy to fall into the stories that other people are telling you? You're a failure, and just succumb to that and snuff out this creative part of you.
So easy. The failure was so painful, so awful that I couldn't. Now, I mean, maybe there is an argument of you can fall into that and stay there and but for me it was just too much.
Too much. Pain of the failure.
Yeah, too much. That any increment outside of that just made everything feel just that little bit better. Yeah, and we're talking about a really young kid. It's about, let's think about 7, 8, something like that, where you're going, where other people's brains, and you're getting examined at that point as well. So everybody else's brains seem to be like, oh, they get that. Oh, the person next to me, oh yeah, they get that. Oh, they're getting that. Yeah, I was working so hard, just like them, hard like them, harder than them, and I've got 0, and they're not even working hard, and they've got 8 out of 10. I've got 0. That abyss is so horrible for me and for a kid as well. So I've got no way to rationalize myself out of this. Yeah, no way to rationalize myself out of this. It's only until a little bit later that you can start as a child still, as an older child, to make rationalizations and go, well, if I choose this and choose this and choose this, things will get better. I can say no to that and say yes to this. But as a child, you're just in this world that is, it's a planet that just offers you pain.
Yeah, it feels so real. I mentioned a father. You mentioned you came from a good household.
Yeah.
It makes me think, as a father, geez, the important role we have to, the world's telling you no. If home at least has some acceptance and giving you permission to do these exciting, creative things that you were doing.
Well, here's the only advice I would offer you as a father, and the rest of my advice would be, I have no advice whatsoever. Do whatever you're going to do. But the best thing I can say is your main job is to offer your children just one opportunity where they might be able to go, I succeeded and I did that. I did, where you as a father or as a family as a whole can go, you see what you did there? That was a brilliant success, and they know it. They can feel it. They're not being told. They're like, man, I did that. And you go, that was all you. That was all you. Because I think just that one moment can change somebody's life. To be able to go, I can do it. That's why I hate that idea of talent. Oh, they're talented.
Tell me more.
Well, they're talented.
Yeah.
It's like, how? Like, how's that helpful?
Yeah.
Who gave them that talent?
Yeah.
Well, if there's some kind of extraterrestrial entity or just luck that gives people talent, how do I know it won't be taken away? I can't live in that world. I can't live in a world where suddenly it's like, you see all that you've achieved? We've decided, the entity has decided you don't get to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So that's pointless. Yeah. So I'm never gonna tell any of my kids, you're talented. It's like, you work hard.
You did it.
You did it. It's all you. Yeah, sure. Okay, you had good teachers. You had a great environment. You had some great people around you. You had a team. Yeah. But ultimately, the thing that was gonna fail this was you, and you didn't fail this. You did it all. I think if you can give somebody just one moment of that, they can take that throughout everything. They can hit these barriers where they go, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, where I am, what's going on, and they can go, yeah, but I remember I succeeded once.
Yeah.
And it was me.
That agency as a child is like, that's agency that I can do this. It's so important. And it sounds like you must have had that as a child, because I hear the tone of your voice increasing as you're speaking to that.
Yeah, so I think there has been moments, and I'm not sure quite, and I might be misremembering this or not giving enough people some due, but I'm not sure I had those moments where people went, that's all you. Yeah, that's you, and it's not anybody else. It's you alone have done that. So I've maybe created this idea that that's what you should give people, maybe because. But I have had success. I have myself gone, no, I did that. That was me.
Yeah.
That was me. Yes, of course, great team around me, support, absolutely. But when it came to coming in at 110% and getting that result, I succeeded there.
I would have to think, so this idea of like, I can do it, this agency, like self-agency, that I can do this is such an important trait. And you've spoken to, like I said, leaders, Fortune 500 companies, political leaders around the world. Have you ever noticed people who have like societal's vision of success, but yet maybe internally they might not have that dialogue that I'm successful, or I did this, I have that agency? Have you ever come across people like in that sense where on paper they're super successful, but underneath they're lost?
Yeah. I wouldn't say they're lost, because in order to be able to, in order that they might be able to have an appointment with me for me to help them, there's a certain amount of success that they'll have already had.
Right.
Okay. And yes, you're right in that they've now got this bigger vision of how things are going to be for themselves. Like, they're looking at that bigger role and they need help, or they're looking at that bigger thing to communicate to the organization, the country. And they're now stuck a little bit, and they need somebody to look at the wiring under the board and go, you just connect that to that, and you put in the power, and we're away. You know, we're a runaway train now. But the human reality that is with everybody is they've reached a point where they're feeling like they've topped out, and they don't know what to do to get that extra piece in there. So everybody who's meeting me is at that point somewhere, whether they're already running a country or whether they're an entrepreneur and they're going, God, I'd really like to scale this thing up. It's like, well, you got this far. What don't you know?
Right.
Right now, all of them have got to the point where they're going, you know, I want to move from being CEO of this massive organization to being on the boards of all these bigger things. It's like, well, what's your problem? What don't you know? And by inquiring around that, they'll go, well, here's what it is. And then they'll tell you about that gap, which is often a gap of knowledge for sure, but sometimes it's a gap of conviction, or a gap of, conviction in themselves, or real conviction in the story, the real idea that they want to sell. They haven't managed to find a story internally that convicts them enough of that. So everybody's got a gap.
I've always been interested in this knowledge and doing gap. We have all this knowledge, but yet doing the thing, doing the work like you did, sacrificing to learn about how to be a body language expert, how communication matters. Doing is hard. You've been talking to a lot of successful people, like I mentioned, the Fortune 500, political figures. Is there something you see universal that helps these people do the things as opposed to just talking about them?
Yeah, so this may not be the answer you're looking for, but let me give you my answer on this.
That's what I'm looking for. Your answer. I don't have an outcome, desired outcome.
What I'm noticing is with the successful people that I work with, it looks like they have an incredible capacity.
Yeah.
Like an extraordinary capacity. Like there's people that I work with where I go, I can't do all the stuff that you're doing.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm interested in this because I often look at these people and be like, what's wrong with me? I can't even manage 2 kids and a dog and a job.
Right. I worked a few years ago with the CEO of a company, probably one of the most recent biggest successes out of Canada across the world. And I'm with this guy and he's talking to me and I'm just thinking, how does your brain work like that? Why didn't I think like that? Like that, I'm just going, that's extraordinary. The way you've thought about the world that you're changing right now. Of course you've been so successful because you're thinking about it in a fundamentally different way than I think. Why don't I think like that? And then I'm going, he started this company with just him, and now it's a massive employer. And then I'm just going, well, how do you run all of this? Mm-hmm. And I'm just saying, I wouldn't know where to start. It's just extraordinary. So massive capacity and a different way of thinking about things. But then I start noticing with all these people what they're not thinking about. Okay. And then I start going, oh, hang on, you're ignoring this and you're not thinking about that and you're paying no attention to this and you outright say, I don't care about that. I'm not focused on that. It's like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. So is some of your massive capacity actually an ability to just get laser sharp focused on this? And I'm going to say it is, whether it is or not, because I've got to have some idea. Yeah. I've got to have some model, because then I can test the model. Right. So when people like you go, what is it? Yeah. I better have something, so that you can go and try it and then come back and go, it wasn't that, Mark. That's complete nonsense. But I got to have some kind of theory and model that we can test. My theory and model is, and this is based on, look, there's only so many neurons we have in our brains. Your brain's going to have pretty much the same as mine. Our heads are just about as big. You're not going to have many more than me. Now, yes, they can be connected in a different way. Some areas of it could have, be larger than others. I get that. But ultimately, it's about the same neural capacity. Yeah. So ultimately, you have the same capacity as me. Let's just say, got the same liter engine as I. By the way, I don't drive at all, so I know nothing about vehicles. Any of my metaphors will be totally off. So we've got the same liter engine. So it has to be about what you're focused on and what I'm focused on, and that I don't notice that you're focused on this area and I mistake it for massive capacity because I think you're also focused on the stuff that I'm focused on.
Right, yeah.
And then I go, well, of course that has to be true, because if this person had the massive capacity, they wouldn't have needed me. They wouldn't have needed my focus. I'm able to come in and go, well, you just do this. And they go, oh, that's magic. And I'm thinking, no, that's just the way it works. Yeah. Nothing magical about that at all. It's just the way the universe functions from my very, very narrow point of view.
Right.
Yeah. So you might look at me, and I would never know why you would, because I would just go, you might look at me and go, God, you must have massive capacity. In my brain, I'm just super focused and I'm useless at most stuff. In my mind, I'm just useless at most stuff and very, very good at a very, very narrow field. and then able to apply that narrow field and laser sharp focus in just the right place at just the right time in just the right way, that people go, there's a piece of magic.
You're brilliant.
You're brilliant. And I think to myself, that was lucky. I got lucky again.
But it goes back to that focus, like that you sacrifice to be good at what you're doing. And obviously working with these people, you are extremely good at what you do. This idea of focus, I'm very curious on this dance between being really focused, laser focused on our professional lives, and then also this like having a life that feels content. And I'm gonna look back when I'm older and be like, I did it. I lived a good one. I lived a good life. And I feel like sometimes, and I speak from experience, where I might have laser focused on the professional world too much, where, you know, what am I not doing? I wasn't playing on the ground with my kids when they were first born because I'm laser focused on task at hand. Whether it's from observations you made from people you're working with, or even yourself as you become laser focused, how, if anything at all, you've danced with this, staying laser focused, but also adding space and time for, I know you've mentioned you have a daughter, the family life, or whatever a good life is for you.
Yeah, I got a great family. Wife, Tracy, who also runs the business with me.
Like 25 years you've been doing the business.
Keeps that going. She writes the books alongside me, with me, you know, makes the business what it is. And two great kids who are fantastic at what they do. It would be so good if I could give you the story that's like, yeah, I'm super laser sharp focused over here, and I have all of those other things. I have the capacity to be successful at all of those other things. I'm probably just good enough, I would say. I'm probably just only just good enough at those things, and maybe have some moments of achievement of going, oh yeah, we did get a vacation together, and I was focused on that for this moment here, and then the rest of the time my mind was going, yeah, but there's this and this and this and this and this. So I'm bad at that. I'm really bad at that. So it'd be so good if we could have this interview, and I'm one of those people who, because again, other people look like they have an incredible capacity, don't they?
Yeah.
Don't they? It's like, man, they've got themselves sorted out on the professional and the personal stuff, and how great is that?
You know what I would say though? I saw you when we were preparing here.
Yeah.
You got up and you talked to someone on the phone.
Yeah, Tracy, my wife.
Okay, and we were about to do something. We're preoccupied, and I wasn't listening, but I heard you say, I love you.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's your focus right there.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't meaning to watch you, but taking the time, because we could just laser focus, be like, got to focus on this interview. I'm not going to answer this call right now.
Yeah.
So I think little things like that, it doesn't always have to be the vacation, so to speak. It's, you already told me about your daughter too.
Yeah. So. I mean, look, I hope that's almost good enough.
Yeah.
I hope so. She was calling me to make sure I'd got here in the snow.
Oh, well.
You know, so, it would be great if I could have that story of I've got that sorted out, but I've got the same amount of neurons as most other people.
Yeah.
I'm super laser focused over here. I've got a really limited capacity. It's hard. The other thing that my dyslexic brain is terrible at, I can't remember the names. It's not that I can't remember them. They don't, well, maybe it is I can't remember them. I don't know quite how it works. Names of people and names of objects. Like I'll look around, it's like, what's that called? Who's that person? Got Sean.
Yeah.
But then when we've finished this, my chances of remembering your name, even when, so how was, the person you were working with? And I'll be like, it was great. And I'll be like, what's the word that we attach to that human being? I can't remember the words that are attached to their parents said, we're going to call you Sean. Yeah. So we know which one you are, and you pay attention when we call out that name. I can't remember those things, and often the names of objects or places. Like there's places on the planet where I've been there time and time again, and every time I come to say, I was in, it's like, I don't know what the place is called. I can't remember what it's called. So So, I'm laser focused over here, and I have so little capacity elsewhere that it's ridiculous. Even I start to be the teacher that goes, you must be lazy or stupid, because everybody else seems like they can do that, and you're getting 0 on the exam on that one.
I like your idea that we have the same amount of like leaders in the engine, though, just as a way to deal with that. Instead of talking down to ourselves, it's like, hey, I only have the same amount of leaders, and I'm putting a lot into this work I'm doing. So
Right.
I won't remember his name. I'll look it up.
Right.
It's okay.
Well, I used to train many. I mean, there was a period of time where I trained just about every new actor in the UK, because I was working at most every drama school, training actors. And I used to say at the start of a year, they'd probably be with me for 3 years. I'd say at the start of the first year, so I will not know what you're called, but I will know who you are, and I will know, I'll be able to tell you exactly what you're great at, but if you come up to me and expect me to be able to say your name, I'm going to so disappoint you. So please don't ever think that's going to happen. And it's nothing about you. It's just about me.
I think that acceptance is great.
Yeah.
Like we can accept, we just don't know that part. I'm going to let you know so I don't disappoint you.
Right.
Because we all have those areas that we're just not good at.
Yeah.
And we dwell on them.
I'm sure they probably still thought I hated them and was uncaring. But
so you're working body language expert. For people listening, for whether they're trying just to navigate their own world at a better pace, when I say better pace, maybe one that feels more congruent. I know you've talked about congruency and communication, but congruent with what they want, or they're trying to achieve some success in career or even relationships. How can we start to be more attuned to our own body language or other people's body language so that we can communicate with more success?
Yeah. Okay. I would say lead, don't read.
Okay.
Stop reading their body language.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you will.
I tried to do that with you, but I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Well,
here.
good. You're absolutely doing exactly
new
the right
language
thing.
going by me.
Yeah, there'll be a lot happening with
Yeah.
me. There'll be a lot happening. It will be overwhelming at times. So you're best to suspend your judgment about what's happening here and look after yourself and think, how do I want to behave in this situation that would be optimal for me and for them? But let's stop judging them.
Right.
Because you're going to bias towards a negative. If you watch all of this stuff going on, unless I'm really clear with you and I really perform for you so you know exactly what's going on, unless I do that, there will be such a barrage of information because that's life.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening. There'll be such a barrage that you'll default to more negatives. And especially in a stressful situation, you'll go, oh, I'm doing terribly here. This is awful. Mark hates me. That was a terrible question. He's only pretending that he's enjoying this. It's really going really badly. You'll default to lots of, now, you have a lot of experience in positive mindset. So you should be able to critically think yourself out of that as much as you can. But you would be an outlier in that because most people haven't studied, that positive mindset. Yeah. And even if they have a little bit, they're not used to doing it because it's a thing that you have to do on purpose. If it wasn't, everybody would have it. And you would have nothing to do in your life. Because it's like, oh no, I got that. Yeah. And I've got that at 110%.
All the time.
All the time, I've got no use for you. And even if I've got it at 90%, I don't need any more. I don't need to be any more positive. I'm positive enough. Nobody has enough of it.
No.
Nobody has enough of it. So look, you're going to default to lots of negatives. So understand that that's going to happen. Now look after yourself. Think to yourself, what do I want to be in this interview? And how am I going to do that on purpose? Yeah, there is no extraterrestrial entity that's going to make me that. There is no authenticity that's going to cause me to be that under stress and pressure. I'm only interested in stress and pressure because when things aren't stressful, you're brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, you're fantastic. Under stress and pressure, you go back to more negative ways of thinking and your survival for you right now, and you go into fight and flight. which can save your life in certain situations, but in this situation here will just make you feel like you were a bad performer and you didn't do a great job. Okay. So you've not got to now do the behaviors on purpose of who you want to be right now in this interview. And now here comes the problem is, do you know those behaviors? Do you know who you want to be? And do you know what you'd have to do to be that? And so that's the help that I would, some of that you'd be able to, just those questions alone. Who do you want to be right now?
Right, no, that.
And what do you want to do?
You know what? On your TED Talk, you talked about the smile and the
eyebrow raise.
I had seen people the last couple of days I hadn't seen for a while, and I was preparing, listening to all your stuff, and I'm like, I want to be a friendly guy. I want to be nice, and I'd go in and smile and give them a little. And then people were like, oh hey, Sean, how have you been?
Yeah.
So I just did a little fraction of what you're talking about. It works so well.
Right. So on when I'm keynote speaking on stage, I've got eyebrow raise going a lot of the time. Now, one of the reasons is it opens up the eyes. People see that little light in the eyes. They feel like I'm more alive. It reminds them that they're alive, because I see my job as a keynote. Nobody needs a keynote speaker. Nobody wakes up in the morning going, I really need a keynote speaker. I mean, some event planners do, but really they're looking for a result, which they think they're going to get through somebody talking to the audience. What I think I do is to remind people that they're alive. I go on in front of them, and my sole job, what I think of as I walk on, is just remind them that they are a physical, living human being right now. Because part of them there is going, somebody's going to come on and talk at me for an hour. How do I get my soul to disappear somewhere else while this is going on? How do I disengage with my physical body right now? Yeah, and I want to go, no, don't engage. Bring them all together, because I'm going to remind you of just how brilliant this thing is.
I'm going to link to the TED Talk, but in that presentation, you went through different body language demeanors.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating just as a listener to be like, I'm so engaged, you were open, then you started talking down to people, and you're like, oh. And then you said, I can't remember one word that was back in the open state, and you're like, oh, he's back.
Yeah, because I can shift them really fast. Because I can get them, if I'm really clear with my behavior, they mirror it. Some of them actually mirror it physically. Yeah, they start breathing along with me physically and start doing the movements with me. You'll see some of them as I'm talking, they're saying it along. They don't know the speech. I've got them so in sync with me. Others may not be in that sync in their external physical body, but internally in their internal modeling, they're right along with me, which means if I do a quick change, they follow immediately, which means I can change their feelings like that.
You're leading.
I'm leading.
Like you said. Oh, you're a fascinating guy. We're coming to an end here for time. I'm always fascinated in our just overall universal experience that we have with money. We don't have too much time left. I'm curious, with these leaders that you've talked about, these Fortune 500 people, or yourself, anyone, how, if at all, when money comes into the picture, can it alter our state of being, which can change our body language, their demeanor, maybe it's shrink, maybe it's big. How have you ever noticed this tendency that when we bring the topic of money, things start to change?
Yeah, so here's what I know from training people for behavioral change. So I'm trying to get people from where they are now to where they want to be by them choosing on purpose to do different behaviors. Behavioral change, hardest thing to do
Very hard.
on the planet, in my view. So anybody in sales or anybody in leadership, you're all doing behavioral change, and you have the hardest job on the planet, because those human beings want stasis, homeostasis. The hominid wants to remain the same, even if it's in massive pain. Better the pain I know than a potential new pain. Okay? Really hard. Here's what I've noticed how it works with money. If you get them to invest in the solution, an amount which is truly meaningful for them, truly meaningful, like it hurts them. They go, ow. Yeah? they are so much more likely to change. If you do not do that, the worst thing you can do is give away the change for free. They're not changing. They do not value it. They're never doing it. It must have some element of this, like, oh, if it's that much, I've got to go and ask permission for that. Or go and ask. Go ask then. Walk through that pain. If you want this pain to stop over here, and you want to get that perfect state for you, walk through that pain over there. Yeah, and go ask for that. Or they're like, I don't know whether I have that right now. Go and find it. Go and find it then.
It's so interesting that like you talk about that process change being so hard in all domains of life, but when it gets to myself and I can actually see like, oh, that hurts, whether it's this investment you're talking about or just the realization there's pain here, I need to change it. Then I see then we can start to make behavior change in any domain.
Right.
I wish we had an hour more. Behavior change is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
We all desire some level of change. Perhaps we have a chat one day on behavior change in deeper detail. But Mark, it's a pleasure to have you here. My last question before we finish is, let's imagine Mark is at end of life.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how old you are. You're sitting on a front porch, looking out at a view that brings you a sense of peace, ease, and contentment. Life is about to end.
Yeah.
You decide to bring a notebook out.
Yeah.
To write a letter to your children's children on what Mark felt was a key to live a good life. What would be in that letter?
2 words. Keep going.
Keep going.
That's all.
I love that. Mark, thank you so much. For people listening, can you tell them about your books, your YouTube channel, all of the brilliant things that you're doing?
Yeah, look, I'm really easy to find and get hold of. Mark Bowden, you put that into that wonderful Google thing and it'll come up with me. So go find me. Got a whole bunch of books, whole bunch of videos, YouTube channels to follow. So get out there. There's lots of stuff for you out there.
Those YouTube videos are fascinating where you're looking at pop culture things and dissecting the body language.
Yeah.
So we'll include all that.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate it.
Sean, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for watching this week's episode. If you enjoyed the chat, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.